Chirut, Kunyan. Hey folks, we're going to be working on hammer fists today. As we do this technique, you will find it on page 61 of your Poomsae manual. This is an Oh Jang. As we do this technique, I'm going to do it as we would do it in the form so you can practice that motion and get the body memory for that. But I want you to keep in mind there's lots of different ways to execute this technique. All right, it is called MEJUMEOK CHIGI in Korean. And you can look it up, get pronunciation a whole lot better than I can do it for you. But find your Korean friends and ask them to do it because they do it so beautifully. In the meantime, let's have a good time with this technique today. Here we go. We're going to be working on your hammer fist. Hammer fist is a nice tight fist with your thumb wrapped around. Nice tight fist, thumb wrapped around. This is important. The hands are always firm, but they're not wimpy or noodly. They're always firm, but they're not tense. Because the minute you get into tenseness, it makes your technique slow down. You can't execute as well. However, when you finish the technique, you always want to pull tight to stop the technique and to increase support around the joints and the ligaments so there's not as much vibration when they make contact with an object. So keep in mind it is really important to have tightness at the end of your technique or your skills. Okay, here we go. As we do this technique, we're going to do it as if we're in Oh Jang. So you're going to do this we're going to be working on your left and right stance as well. I want you to set your right hand on your collarbone. I am going to mirror you so that you can practice while you're looking at me. Your other hand's going to come forward. What's going to happen is your thumb is going to be facing towards your jawline. As you rotate it down, it's going to rotate over at that last 20 point of extension. If you rotate over too soon, it's kind of more like just throwing a club at it. We don't want to do that. We want to execute with torque and finesse, which gives us more flow and power. So we're going to go into a front stance, low block. So you're setting here, pull from this position. Okay, I'm going to pull back, I'm going to pivot my back foot, step back into my left stance, which is 1 footprint away. As I pull through, I'm going to pull on the inside of my arm, past my armpit, throw and use my elbow as the fulcrum, shooting it over the top. It's a beautiful motion, but it's not a big hammer and the arm isn't stiff. It's got a nice bend flow, just like as if you're chambering for a front snap kick or a roundhouse. The tighter the chamber, the better execution of your technique and the more power you will ultimately have. So maintain that power and have fun with it, but make sure you breathe through it as well. So I'm going to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Okay, that's what it's going to look like. I see a lot of students as they work through this, they think that they're back fisting, so the energy and the power is going back. It's not. You're coming down on your attacker right here. It's a hammer fist. You're striking with the meat of the hand right here. That's where I want to have you make contact, not on the wrist, not on the fingers. I don't want on the back of the hand. It's right here. So you young guys, even you older guys, practice just getting this circular motion. Because if you do the circular motion, that's what you're going to do when you do your technique. Switching hands, big circles, okay? Now, remember, we're always using that elbow as a fulcrum. So even though that motion isn't quite like that, it gets you kind of used to understanding how you're going to rotate. So if you're already here in this position, which is where we're going to start for the rest of this example, you're going to pull. Opposite hand has to float out and pull back. I always tell my students, this is your turbo hand. Your turbo hand is so important. It is what gives your turbo power to everything else you execute. So although it may not seem like it has a big job, it has a huge job. And if it's floating down, or if I see some people execute like this, I know you have less than 20 to 30% of the power of your potential. So make sure you're using that arm. So as I strike here, I'm going to pull, boom. This motion has to happen. There's my fulcrum, boom, right on the top. It's not a big motion like this. It's a pull, elbow, shoot. Pull, elbow, shoot. Try the other side, okay? Pull, elbow, shoot. Pull, elbow, shoot. I can't do it without my other hand, I'm sorry. Okay? Pull, elbow, shoot. Pull, elbow, shoot. Drop. You're going to swing, shoot, okay? All right? I want to see this motion over the top because that tells me that the momentum is going that direction and that the elbow is helping with that execution, okay? I want you to practice that on both sides. I really want to see 1, okay, 2, 3, okay? Let's do it with me. Let's do 10 on each side, okay? You ready to go? We're going to go into that front stance. You've just done your low block, okay? Float. I'm kind of exaggerating. Don't lift it way up. So you're here. I'm just going to pull into it. 1. Okay? Let's do it again. Ready? 2. Set. Net. Toss it. Reset. Toss it. Reset. Field goal. Reset. Field. Reset. Aho. Reset. Field. Okay, now let me ask you a question. If your elbow is tight or sore right now, a couple things might be going on. Number 1, as you do this technique, if you're hyperextending down, that's going to hurt, and eventually it's going to cause soreness in your elbow, so be careful with that. All right? So make sure when you execute, even when I execute, I don't hyperextend the elbow. I leave it. There's always going to be, I always call it 5% bend. There's a video on it. You always want to leave a little bit of a bend. And if you're sticking kicks, that's a different story. But for the most part, when you're sparring, you're doing technique, you do not want to get tennis elbow or hyperextend those elbows, so, or your knees or your kicks. So just be aware of that. Keep a little bit of flow inside of those, and you'll know as you get comfortable kicking how to do that a little bit more effectively. Here we go, other side. Ready? First one's going to be slow. Pull, back hand's going to float. You start to see this motion, and then you see the hands rotate. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱, 여덟, 아홉, 열. I notice I'm dropping that hand a little bit. Really make sure the hand is at the top, finish should be at the top of your shoulder. So if you're dropping here, that's incorrect. So I apologize if I did that. So keep it up just a little bit higher so it should have a little bit of a float up. All right, keep working at it. Keep being awesome. Be amazing. Practice, practice, practice. I want you to practice it 20 times on each side. I want to hear about it. I want to hear how hard you've worked. In the meantime, keep being a black belt, okay? Every day is a journey towards that next level of black belt. Okay, it's right. Kunien.